In today's video, I'm going to teach you the ins and outs of tax sales in Tennessee, including redemption periods and how they work, including when the redemption period starts, which is only when a specific court order gets entered. I'm going to talk to you about the risks of tax sales in Tennessee and how to avoid them, and the one kind of property you never ever want to buy at tax sale. All that's in this video, so stay through to the end. And also at the end, I'm going to show you a hidden, unknown, secret way of buying properties at tax sales where you just get lists of properties, you pick out the ones that you want, they're vacant, there's no right of redemption. Much, much simpler. I'm going to teach you how to get started in that. First big thing to know in Tennessee is there's something called a right of redemption. What that means is that even though you're the successful bidder, you've raised your paddle, they said, you got it, you win, you haven't gotten ownership of the property yet. Because in Tennessee, there's a time period when the owner can redeem or save the property from tax sale. And what that means is they have a certain number of months to pay off the taxes, pay you some interest plus your bid back, and keep their property. Now, depending on how long the property's been vacant and whether it's occupied or not, the owner has from 30 days to a year to redeem the property, meaning to save the property from the sale. And if they want to redeem, they're going to have to go to the tax office, they're going to have to pay the taxes that were due, they're going to have to pay you interest, they're going to have to pay the cost of sale. So for most people, it's not very feasible. So most of the time, they're not going to redeem, but know that it's possible. And the thing that you want to know as an investor going into a tax sale is how long have the property taxes been delinquent? Because, for example, if they've been delinquent for less than 5 years, then the person gets 1 full year to redeem the property. And that's a long time because during that year, you're not going to want to do work to the property. At most, you're going to want to secure the property, maybe winterize it, but you certainly don't want to go in and do a full rehab on the property because if the person redeems, they're going to get your rehabilitated property and you're going to be trying to get your money back, which is not easy to do. So the most you'd want to do is secure the property, which means winterize it, seal it up, and make sure that it's checked on each month, and make sure you keep the grass cut so that you're not going to get things like grass cutting fines. Keep the trash and litter off the property so you don't get fined for it. And so that's the first thing. And there's a whole breakdown of time periods for redemption. And the time period breakpoints are taxes delinquent between 5 and 8 years. That person has 180 days to redeem the property, or property taxes that were delinquent for over 8 years, in which case the person has 90 days to redeem the property. And for a property that's been declared vacant or abandoned, they have 30 days to redeem the property. So there's lots of details you need to learn. And the other thing about tax sales in Tennessee, or for that matter, any place else, is that these properties are sold as is, where is, with no warranties, no guarantees. You bought it, they don't care about the condition or anything else. It could have rats, it could have toxic waste on it, nobody cares. So you need to be responsible for your own bid. And what does that mean? It means you need to physically look at every property you're going to bid on and evaluate its condition. And often the tax sale properties are in very poor condition because they've been neglected for a long time. Because let's face it, if you can't afford to pay your real estate taxes, you're not going to pay to fix the roof. You're not going to pay to fix leaky windows. You're not going to pay to fix the heater. You're not going to pay to fix most anything. So a lot of times these properties are in the poorest condition. So when you look at a tax sale property, you really have to assume the worst. If it looks ratty from the outside, it's going to be very ratty in the inside. And also in Tennessee tax sales, as well as other ones, you don't have any right to go in and look on the inside of the property. You know, there's no open house. There's no inspection report. The best you can do is look at it from the street. And if you're brave, you can get out of your car, knock on the door and see if anybody's living there and find out about the condition of the house, maybe go into the house and take a tour of it, but you don't have a right to go in the house. So what you need to do at a minimum is go see each property that you're going to bid on. Because if you don't do that, you're buying a pig in a poke, and that generally does not work out in your favor and is a big mistake. Now, when you're going to be bidding at a tax sale in Tennessee, make sure that you go onto the county website where they're giving the list of properties to be sold and look at two things. Number one, the conditions and terms of sale. Conditions and terms of sale are very important because the county sets things like, for example, what form of payment they accept, and maybe a wire transfer, and maybe a cashier's check, It may be cash. What it's not going to be is using a mortgage. What it's not going to be is waiting 30 days. Oftentimes, the money is due either same or next day, and that's set by the county as per county rules. So you need to understand when you're supposed to pay. You also have to understand, and you'll see this inside those terms and conditions of sale, you need to understand when and if you have to register in advance of the sale. It is very common that you need to register in advance, sometimes as much as a week or more in advance of the sale. Otherwise, you can't bid. So you can't just go down there and show up the day of sale and bid. And that's something you want to be aware of, because you don't want to prepare for the sale and then go there all excited with your money and realize, oh no, I can't bid because I didn't register a week ago. Or, oh no, I can't bid because I didn't know I had to have cash ready and I don't have a cashier's check. So you want to make sure you look at those terms and conditions of sale and understand them clearly. Also understand very clearly, you are responsible for your purchase. Nobody helps you. The county's not going to help you. They don't care if the house got blown down in a windstorm last night and you bought it today. It's your house. They don't care. The other thing with all tax sales, Tennessee included, do not buy commercial properties at tax sales. The reason commercial properties are a problem is that they often have toxic wastes, and if you buy that property, you're responsible for cleaning up that waste, whether you made the pollution or not. There's a famous case that happened in Pennsylvania where I live and where I'm a lawyer. A guy bought an old paint factory at a tax sale, and the EPA notified them a short time after that there were some open barrels of toxic waste and they needed to seal them, hire a licensed hauler to cart them away and get rid of it. And they refused. They said, oh, forget it, because they hadn't actually closed on the bid yet, meaning they hadn't paid the rest of their money and gotten titles. So they said, oh, we're out of this. Well, no, they couldn't get out of it. The EPA actually held them on the hook for the cleanup cost of almost $500,000. So the only way to really avoid that risk is not to buy commercial properties, because you have no chance to do the due diligence to check out if the ground is contaminated, if the soil is contaminated, if the groundwater is contaminated. You have no chance to do that in a tax sale, and you do not want to take on that risk, because it's what's called strict liability, which means if you own it, you're liable for it, and you're liable for the cleanup, and you do not want that. So the way to avoid it is just don't buy commercial properties at tax sales. Buy nice residential houses, buy apartments, buy townhouses, buy things that were used for residential uses, because you're not going to have that level of problem. Also, one other trick in Tennessee is that the period of redemption doesn't start until the court issues an order confirming the sale. That's typically going to happen a month to a month and a half after the sale. So if you have a 1-year redemption period, it doesn't strictly end a year after the date of the sale. It's a year after the order confirming the sale. So when you're going to get into tax sales in Tennessee, make sure you sit down with a knowledgeable local attorney who helps people that buy properties at tax sale. Sit down with them and understand what those rules are, so that you don't make a mistake that could cost you a lot of money. Instead, you enter into a profitable area of investing where you'll get properties cheaper than any other way, but you're going to do that when you know what you're doing. There's another way that is probably better to buy tax sales that isn't well known, is not well advertised. There's one guy that invented this whole process, and I think that he's really got it dialed in. And essentially what he gets is lists of properties that are available for the taking. And there are thousands and thousands of them. These are properties that have been exposed to a tax sale process and are now available to just pick up, typically for a few $100s, sometimes for a few $1,000s, where there's no competition, no other bidders, and you can just look through pages of properties and decide which ones you want and just buy them. I think that's a much better way to do it. And the way to find out more about that is I recorded an interview with my friend Tony, who's the one that invented this, and he goes over sort of what he does and how you can do that, so that instead of competing with other bidders, instead of worrying about redemption periods, you're going to be buying properties where there is no redemption period. There's no owner that's living there. They're just vacant properties just waiting for someone to take, and they're just sitting there, literally just waiting, with no public auction, no competition. So if you want to learn more about that, and I suggest you do, click on the link down below for my interview with Tony. He and I sat down for probably 20 minutes and went over this, and you are going to be mind blown and excited about how great his method is, how great what he's doing is, and how you could adopt that to pick up properties whenever you want at amazing prices without the headaches. Because the tax sale process itself is fine. I did it for several years, But I have to say it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of talent and there's a lot of risk in it. And you have things like right of redemption in Tennessee, which can really cause you headaches. I'm going to show you a way that does away with all of that and makes it really easy and simple process. So your next step, go down below, click on that video link and watch the 20-minute or so interview I did with Tony, and your eyes are going to be opened. Your heart's going to start pulsing and racing with excitement because you're going to know this is the better answer for you.